Hi folks. Okay, streaming should be working now. The official live stream is about to start in 8 minutes from now, but I'm live now just to be sure that everything is working. So let me know if you hear me, if you can see me right, if everything is working. If you can please in the comment system, the live chat, let me know if you can hear me and see me, if everything is working. There are only a few people online. Somebody can tell me if you can hear me. Everything, thanks gaming fool. Okay. Oh, perfect. Thanks. So I will only start to chat about the cameras and the rumors and the news in about 7 minutes from now. Last time I had a connection issue, so I wanted to avoid that you were here at 4 p.m. Waiting for me and me not coming online. So that's why I'm online a couple of minutes earlier to make sure that everything is working. So, thanks. So before we talk about cameras, I will wait till 6 more minutes before we start to chat about cameras. I give you just some personal explanation of where I am. You know, all those YouTubers, you probably follow, have the studio and everything set up, and this is just a small kitchen in a small house in the Alps, really far away from everybody. The reason why I don't have a studio has to do with some private family stuff. I cannot do my work, rent a studio to do those kind of YouTube videos. I can only do it at home, and at home I have small space. And where I am, because I'm in the middle of the mountains, it's even raining all day. There's little light right now, and the only spot with okay light, and the light is still bad, I realize, is that part of the kitchen and living area. And so that's why you always see me making those kind of videos in a not serious setup. And that's it for now, because YouTube videos I'm only doing for fun, to get some more direct connection with you as a reader, because otherwise I get no feedback. So the whole point of making those live views and YouTube is not to really make a business out of it, but to get a feedback, and then I implement that feedback. And when I work on sonyalpha and the other rumor websites, I try to improve and learn from my mistakes and from your suggestions. So that's the whole idea. Therefore, I didn't rent a special space for the YouTube videos, and also I'm not. I have to think in the future what to do with this channel. Probably the one thing I can tease you now is that I have a big private photography project, that will start in January, and I will probably talk about that private project on this channel. And basically, I will build my own giant camera to create direct positive images, just like paintings. They will be one of a kind, and I will let you know step by step how I will build a camera, develop also the process to develop the images. That will be interesting. I will document it using my Sony A7s and so forth. So that's one thing I can tell you about 2025, but I will still not be able to have a studio to do the videos properly there, because of a work-family balance. I have to be often with my family because of a certain condition of my son that demands a lot of time. So when I work, do my photo project, whatever, I'm outside, but when I'm back at home, I'm with the family, and when I have some time, I do those kind of videos. So now you know more or less why I'm not doing series like Gerald Undone or Petapixel or all of those other guys that make it really perfectly right, and why I will probably not do it in the foreseeable time unless something changes in my family work balance, so that I can have more time, and then maybe I will think about doing a setup, but I don't know. Let's see. Also, because doing YouTube videos is super stress. I have much less stress working on getting the rumors via email, contact forms, chat with sources, and posting the news on Sony for Rumors. Doing the YouTube video it's a different kind of work and a lot of work. So sometimes I really think I shouldn't do it, but what I like is that direct connection. So maybe I have to just do it less and better. So let's see. I will now read your comments. 3 minutes until we start talking about the Sony cameras that are coming. Also about the Sony interview that will be interesting that we just read this week. Although I know that the manager didn't share, of course, obviously, details about the future products. I think there are a couple of mini Easter eggs that are worth to be discussed. I will read now your comments. Yeah, Miguel, I'm considering to take a like for making this. The problem is, I have to be truly honest. At the moment, I'm very limited with the energy, and I'm still questioning if I should keep doing those YouTube videos. So that's why I'm not doing the investment, but probably I should just do it, buy a couple of likes and do it. And if I then decide to stop the YouTube videos, then no problem. But Miguel, you're probably right. I should at least make a minimum investment just to make it look more decent. Also, I will cut my hair soon, don't worry. Do some minimum aesthetic work so that it's more pleasant for you when I talk to you, because you only see me. And maybe I should invite some guests, so also show some other faces so that it becomes a bit more interesting. But I understand that if we have to do YouTube, I have to raise a tiny bit the bar, even if I don't have now the time and energy to rent a space and go there and so forth. Thanks, Avid. We'll answer your questions about gear in 1 minute from now, because in 1 minute we are starting the official live stream. Yeah, there are already many questions about the gear, so 30 seconds left. The important thing is that you hear me right now, that everything is working, and so we can start to chat about Sony gear, a tiny bit also about the Fuji, Nikon, Canon, Panasonic news that we had this week, but the most important thing is the Sony gear, because Sony will have probably the last very exciting announcement of the year. Let's see, 10 seconds to go. Okay, I see there are 102 people online, and now it's 4 p.m. So, hi folks, today I want to talk mainly about the upcoming new Sony gear and Sony gear that we can expect to get in 2025. The reason for the live stream is that this week Phototrend, a French magazine, interviewed Sony manager, but also Fujifilm manager, Nikon, Canon, and Panasonic manager. And in my opinion, there are a couple of Easter eggs, some small hints that are interesting to discuss with you. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, or maybe you see something that I didn't see. So I will walk you through that interview, the highlights of the interview, so that we can discuss this and you can make your questions and I will answer them. Just a technical note, questions are only possible by subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber, you cannot submit your questions. So subscribe if you want, but I had to do this so that everything is clean. Otherwise I have to remove ugly comments all the time and so forth. It takes me a lot of time to filter everything out. So only subscriber can ask questions on this channel right now on this live chat. So let me show you first the big news of the week that is here. Of course, let's see, I will clear the comment from Miguel. So the big news of the week, of course, is that Sony has very likely scheduled a major alpha announcement event for late November. I posted this info on sonyalpha and I didn't tell you yet the date and what to expect. I have to confess I know the date, and I know a tiny bit more about that alleged full-frame Sony E-mount camera that will be announced in late November, but the couple of info that I got from the trusted sources, I used that info to double-check other information I received from other sources to be sure that they're sending me the right info. That's the only way to build up some reliable information, so apology if I don't share you everything I know right now. It's not because I'm mean to you, but it's the only way to build up trust with sources and see, yeah, to get more information and to be sure that I mostly write on rumors shared by trusted sources. Again, a reminder to always separate the videos I make when I talk about trusted sources or unreliable news sources and so forth. I see people still pissed off that my wild rumors I post just for fun or sake of discussion or because other rumor sites are talking about, when they don't become true, those rumors, they are pissed off with me. Again, I understand. One thing are rumors from my trusted sources, and other rumors from other trusted, non-trusted sources, other websites. I cannot be accountable for that, and I always remind you of that. But now let's talk Sony. So I'm now 90%, 95% certain that we will have that announcement, 95% certain there will be a new full-frame E-mount camera. I got a hint about what kind of camera to expect, but I cannot share it yet because I need to verify it with other sources and collect more info. All I can hint to you is this is an exciting model for sure. So we are not getting, I mean, every model can be exciting for some people, but this is like a major thing. So not something low end, or definitely not a ZVE1 2, which for some would be exciting, but it's an entry level full frame camera. So don't expect something like this. There will be something major. I hope that in the next 1-2 weeks I can finally tell you what camera to expect and also what lens to expect, but I'm working on it, talking a lot with different sources. Some sources got also conflicting information because Sony of course is teasing already about this with their influencers and so forth, and sending out some mixed information, so I have to watch out. Some people already that I know for a long time got word about other kind of cameras that I know are not likely to come. So it's kind of a game, you know, a cat and mouse game where you try to not fall into the traps. So that's why I also am very slow in sharing the rumors when I have them. Now, the very important news I want to discuss with you today are the interviews made by Phototrend. So now I will switch over to Phototrend so that you can see the French magazine. I have to find it first here. They interviewed all the major managers from the major companies like Nikon, Fujifilm, you can see Panasonic, Canon and Sony. You are welcome to read them all. Use Google Translate to read the original text so that you understand it if you don't speak French. I particularly found the Sony and the Fujifilm interview interesting. Now, a very important reminder when it comes to managers. Managers, one, will never tell you about what's coming next. And sometimes, actually very often, managers don't really know what's coming because those are European managers and they don't get informed by their Japanese headquarters what's up next until the very last minute. Do we get a general view about the strategy, but not super detailed info about what's coming in terms of cameras or lenses? So I'm sure they don't know everything at various degrees with the various companies, but they know something. And I want today talk about particularly the Sony interview and a tiny bit about the Fujifilm interview. So let's check over what the Sony managers said at Phototrend. Again, thanks Phototrend for the amazing job doing that interview. And here you see Sony manager Fabrice Abouaf. I don't know what the name, how to spell it, but he talked with Phototrend, and there are a couple of points that are very interesting. First of all, he confirmed that Sony is the leader in the full frame hybrid market. So Sony is doing extremely well in France and in Europe. The Sony A7 IV sales are still strong despite the strong competition from Nikon and Canon. So Sony says it's still a hot seller, which doesn't mean that the Sony A7 V cannot come soon. So don't misunderstand this as a proof that the Sony A7 V is not coming anytime soon. Of course, Sony wants to avoid that you get to the point that the Sony A7 IV is not selling well anymore because of the competition. So they, according to the info I got, the Sony A7 V will be on market the first half of 2025. That's what I got from 2 trusted sources. So unless there is another delay, whatever, I think mostly we are getting a Sony A7 V on market the first half of Sony A7 of the 2025. Now let's move on to what they said about the Sony A7S III, and what really made me feel a bit strange was this. He said that the A7S III follows a normal life cycle for a product in this range, and I tend to disagree. I think the Sony A7S III is pretty old. It's not normal that it's that old. There should have already been a replacement by now. It's more than 4 years now. So when he says this is a normal life cycle, no, the Sony A7S III is in dire need of replacement, in my opinion, but let me know in the comment system. So I disagree with him that it has a normal life cycle. And he also says the A7S III still has its place in the market. Of course, he has to say that. It's still on sale. It's still promoted by Sony. Of course, it has a place. But he didn't directly answer the question if there will be an A7S IV or not. Now, let's move on. What's very interesting is that he confirms there's a lot of demand for a Sony version of those popular lenses like the Canon 100-300 and the Nikon 120-300 2.8. Those lenses I know from my contacts with stores that they're selling really well in Europe, United States and so forth. So I am pretty certain that Sony engineers are listening and working on making this lens. So I didn't get any info from trusted sources about such a Sony lens coming anytime soon, but I know sales are strong and I know Sony knows that, so I think they will do what they can to make a 100-300mm 2.8 GM lens for the Sony E-mount system. So I bet everything on it that they will make this lens. I just don't know when it will hit the market. My hope is that it's coming in 2025, but let me know if you happen to stumble upon some info about this lens, if it's coming, if you talk with Sony managers and they give you some more hints, please let me know. Use the email address as sonyalpharumors.com, sonyalpharumors@gmail.com to contact me and let me know if you have some info about this lens. About Sony making a camera that competes with the Fujifilm X100VI. He said that I believe many ambassadors and professional photographers have already given this type of feedback to Sony engineers. As for what the future holds, I can't predict. So this is probably the most interesting part, at least for me, and I am biased. So I really want this camera to be true, like a fixed lens, full frame camera. So I am very biased. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But the fact that they openly shared the info that they got a ton of requests for this camera is kind of an admission that there is a market for this. So they are aware there's a pressure on Sony to make such a model. So I give it a 70-80% chance that Sony is working on a new full frame fixed lens camera and that it might be even released in 2025. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and that's probably the most interesting part of the interview, that they openly shared that information. Of course, he cannot say that the Sony RX1, R3 or whatever the name will be is coming. He cannot do that, but he said like, yeah, there is a lot of requests for that, so it gives me hope. About the aps-c segment, yeah, he again stressed that the aps-c segment is very important for Sony, but he didn't share any info about the strategy from now on. And about future 1.2 primes and 2.0 zoom, I don't have information about or about such product releases. Okay, so the wrap up here is that Sony is still doing very well in terms of sales when it comes to the Sony A7 IV. The Sony A7 IV is the most sold Sony camera worldwide. That's an info I also have, so it's still selling strong. But I told you I am betting on the Sony A7 V coming the first half of 2025. He didn't share anything about the A7S IV, and in his opinion the A7S III is still in the normal release cycle, which I think it's not. He's just doing a marketing trick here, telling that everything is perfectly fine, but I don't think so. The A7S III is really the most outdated full-frame alpha camera, and in dire need of replacement if Sony wants to replace it. My bet right now that is, like I told in my previous video, that the FX3 II will probably replace both the FX3 and the A7S III. But I might be wrong on this, it's just a feeling, nothing that I heard from a trusted source. The most important info of that interview is that they're really feeling the pressure of making a Sony full-frame fixed-lens camera. And that's a confession that gives me a tiny bit of hope that we are finally getting such a model, at best in 2025. Moving on, about Fuji, there's something to say here. A couple of interesting info that the European manager Frank Bernard shared in the interview. First of all, they own 40% of the non-full frame market, and that's quite a lot for a company. So having 40% in the non-full frame market means they're really enjoying a ton of sales. There are a lot of info that I'm skipping now because it's you can read it on mirrorlessrumors.com. I posted it there today. You can read the details about the new XM5 and so forth. That's not so important. About AI, about the lens, and so that's not really what I want to discuss. There are 2 points that I want to discuss. First of all, Fujifilm will not make a film camera, which is kind of pity. He says that the market is still very limited, so he doesn't see a reason to make a film camera. Now I'm part of that niche of guys that do still shoot with film cameras, mainly the Mamiya 7. I have 2 cameras from Mamiya, so 2 Mamiya 7 II. Amazing. I shoot Dia, so I like the image quality, the look from those images and the film, but I am aware that I'm part of a niche. Pentax made a ton of pre-orders on the Pentax 17, so there is at the moment a big demand, particularly from young people, but I don't know if this is still, if this is a trend that will still increase further or fade away sometime. So Fujifilm for now thinks that they don't have to enter the film market, which I think is pity. I would love to get an X-mount film camera where you can still use the X-mount lenses for shooting film. Of course it would be half frame in this case because they cannot take the full 35mm film size, so I think they should do it, but they know the numbers and they think there's no market for this. They were of course surprised about the X100VI success. The predictions were ambitious, but the demand was even stronger than their predictions. And the demand was accelerated on Chinese social media, so the camera did go viral and made a ton of sales, particularly in China. And they will hope to deliver all of the pre-orders within the next 10 to 11 months. So it will still take 1 year to ship out their pre-orders on the Fujifilm X100VI. Now imagine if Sony would have released a competitor by now, like a full-frame RX1 R3 or even a aps-c fixed lens camera. They could have probably taken some of those customers that were interested in the Fujifilm camera and that they don't want to wait for a year to get it. So I think there's a bit of a missed opportunity, but of course you cannot just make such a camera in 1 year. It takes a couple of years, and probably Sony was unprepared on this trend. So the rest of the interview you can read on mirrorlessrumors.com, and again sonyalpha.com. You can read the Sony interview, and the original long interview is available on PhotoTrend. So that's what I wanted to discuss with you today, those interviews from Sony and from Fujifilm. The Canon, Nikon, Panasonic interviews are a bit less interesting. There's some small points, but there's nothing particularly innovating. So the wrap up here is again that Sony is feeling the pressure on making a 300mm 2.8 lens, and I think they will do it. They're feeling the pressure on making a new full frame fixed lens camera, and here I hope they will do it. And for the rest, in November we should finally get the first full frame E-mount camera. I will now read through your questions and see if I can answer them as best as I can. So first I scroll back because I see there are already many questions. I will choose a couple of those. Let's see. There's a guy, Brandon, asking me about the 400mm gem, if there will be a new version. I don't think. I have no info about this, but I would be surprised if they would release a new version 2025. There are a ton of other lenses they have to do before they update the 400 GM. That is already a great lens. Yeah, the Lumix S5D seems to have been that camera that was previously registered in China. I'm still not sure. We need to see the S5D, what the code is. Once it's on the market, there's a code, and then we can see if it matches the registration in China. Although the S5D is only, as far as I know, if I'm not mistaken, made for the European market, so maybe the Chinese registration could really be another camera model. There might be some interesting news regarding some serious Lumix full frame camera coming in January. So let's cross the fingers that by then we will get finally the S1H2 or the S1R2. Those are the cameras that we really want from Panasonic. I didn't know that the hate comments help on algorithms. They don't help on my psyche. So the way I deal with hate comments is I just ban them. I don't care. Hate comments are not critics. They are critical comments that are expressed in a polite manner, with respect and with the intention to improve the channel. Those are accepted. So if you just write, this channel is shit, then of course I'm not going to approve it and I'm going to ban you. But if you say, no, this live stream was bad because of that you should do that, then of course I will listen to you. Just talk to me like a real person. I still one of those guys that pretend that people talk to me like I'm there with my kids, with my family, we're drinking a beer and then we're having a discussion. That should be the way we write and talk on social networks, and it's not happening. Of course, I'm aware this is not going to happen anytime soon. I didn't hear anything about the 35 1.4 GM. Fujifilm X Pro 4 coming to 2024. I think Fuji Rumors wrote about this, that it's not coming in 2025. But check out Fuji Rumors, they wrote something about this. The cat wants to jump in, wait a second. There is a real strong rain outside and she wants to go back in the warmth. So about the 24-70 2.0, I didn't get additional info. All I know about this lens, I told you in my previous video. I'm not going to repeat myself, so check out the previous video. The A12 will be the flagship camera. If that's the camera coming in late November, of course it will be the flagship camera. And like I told you, I don't expect it to have global shutter at all. So the A9 III is really a niche camera. I don't have specs, at least not confirmed specs, on that new model, so I cannot give you an answer about this. Don't worry. Sony A7s IV, no info at all. The 24 GM2, I don't have an info about this lens. Any FX news? I got an additional FX news about the FX9 sort of successor. It was ready for launch in September, and something happened. Sony decided to not announce it yet. And that's again coming from trusted sources. Of course, you can now tell me, nah, BS, I'm making up a story. You're free to think whatever you want. If I would be I trust a source, so the only way this is wrong is that he, for the first time, is wrong, which happens. That one time after a couple of years, they share wrong info. So the cat now wants to go out again. So, sorry. So that's the info I got. I hope that in the next weeks I can get some info. And what's very important, in late November, we are not getting an FX model. So this would be an alpha E-mount full-frame camera, not the FX9 successor. Let's move on with your questions. The 24 GM. Yeah, the 24 GM was, I think Miguel is right, that it was the first lens that was optically extraordinary, but in a very compact size. As you know, I told you many times that one of the strengths of the Sony E-mount system is the lenses, because they are stunning when it comes to optical performance, but also very compact. And the 24 GM 1.4 initiated a trend, and then we saw many primes and zooms with that kind of design of achieving the max possible quality in the smallest package. That's why I'm interested in the 24-70 2.0, because I think that unlike the Canon 28-70 2.0, this lens is more usable because of the 24mm wide end, but it will still be compact. It will be big, it will be not weight nothing, but it still will be usable if you use it on a camera. That's what I expect from 24-70 2.0. Sony has now 85 1.2, true, but I'm working on that rumor, because I'm not sure that they will not do that lens. I dropped a bomb here, yeah. That's an info I never shared before. I'm working on that rumor because I started to get something on this. Yeah, let's see, more questions. Sorry if it takes some time, but there are many questions and I want to be sure that I read them all. Let's see, move on. No, the Sony A9 III has not a dual layer sensor, it has a new global shutter sensor. And I think the global shutter sensor will likely, that's my speculation, find its way also maybe in the future FX3 II or the A7s IV if it's coming, despite my skepticism. But I can see the FX3 II having the same 24 megapixel sensor, global shutter sensor from the A9 III, because I'm born actually as a filmmaker, so I studied cinema. And I made a lot of documentaries, and global shutter for me brings a ton of benefits, and that small drop in dynamic range makes no difference at all for me. Do we get the Lumix S9 with the FEVF? Nope, I didn't hear anything about this at all. I think it would be cool if they would do the LX100 Micro Four Thirds camera. If they would do it in full frame, that would be nice. But at the moment, I know that L-mount, Panasonic in general, is struggling making sales. So for them, it's difficult to make niche cameras. I don't know. For them, probably it's more important to make the S1R2 and the S1H2. A7 IV, So I don't have specs yet, so that's just speculation, but it will not have global shutter. There is no point in having global shutter on the A7 V. Sorry, A7 V, yeah. Yep. The A9 III can do nearly everything perfectly, but indeed for some the 24 megapixel resolution is a limitation. I know sports photographers, some photographers that also love to crop into the images, and when you have 24 megapixel that becomes more difficult. If you would have a global shutter sensor with 50 megapixel sensor, this would be amazing for some. So it will happen eventually, but I don't think that the Sony A1 II will have global shutter, but that's just a speculation from my side now. New A7C, I didn't get anything at all. We got two A7C cameras in 2023. Don't think there is any other A7C camera coming. Can firmware updates overcome limitation of global shutter in terms of ISO performance and dynamic range? Don't think you can do really anything at all. You of course you can tweak something with algorithm and like just a tiny bit, of course, but there is a bottleneck at the hardware level. The global shutter is simply not as sensitive as a normal rolling shutter yet. Frono's photo. I might do. It's 15 years in this business, and I know all those kind of people more or less. Maybe one day I should really talk about what the popularity makes to some people. Some people really, they become an avatar of themselves, and he's surely a nice guy. I talk to him, but it's just weird for me to talk to him. I always get odd and strange answers. I give up. He can do whatever he wants. He can joke about me. I don't care anymore. He's victim, not a victim, a victim of his own narrative and success, and he cannot go out from this. That's my opinion. He, of course, will say that I'm wrong and I don't know him. Probably, maybe he's right. So I will always stay true to myself 100% and not fool around. I prefer to have 20,000 followers on YouTube and be a normal person than get crazy and unpolite, unrespectful, and a tiny bit of liar. And that's what I think of him, but not because a bad person. It's just that he became an avatar, a figure and a narrative, and I think he has to lose being like that. But that's an opinion of a nobody, and I'm probably wrong, and you can forget about it. Sony pancake lens rumor. I posted something about a 28 2.8 lens, but I don't know. This was something I got from an anonymous source, so again, in this case, could be completely BS. I would definitely love to get a 28 2.8, but I got some other lens a couple of days ago that I really looking forward to test. Is the Viltrox 28mm 4.5. They sent me one for free, but I paid. In Italy you pay so much taxes that basically it's like paying the lens. It would have been better for me to buy it once available here in Italy, so I can deduct it from the taxes. So actually I'm wasting a tiny bit of money by receiving a lens for free from them, but I really wanted it because that Viltrox lens, image quality, of course, it's not really sharp, vignetting, chromatic aberration. You can all the negatives you can put inside, but instead of having a lens cap, you can put this one on the camera, and on the fly, suddenly you need to take a picture. You have a lens that actually works, and the images are actually surprisingly okay because they have a certain flare that actually I like, and they're sharp enough in the center. So I like this. It's also autofocus, which is very handy. So I'm actually really loving it. There is gear that you like not because they, from a technical point of view, they are superb, but simply because they do the job. You feel like you can use them for something, and that Viltrox is really great. OpenGate, I got this question a couple of times. From what I heard, Sony has a strategy to offer more and more paid software features, so they might give you more features on your cameras in the future, but you will have probably to pay for it. That's also I think on the Sony financial statement, latest financial statement, they really made it clear that this is an area where they see most possibility of making new revenue. So selling you the camera with a low margin of not revenue, of no benefit, now the word is not coming, for profit, of course, and then selling you the software after that. It sounds terrible, I know, but that's a way to make the alpha lineup still profitable, and it's also a way, like it or not, so that you can get new features in time, because Sony with the firmware strategy is really not the best, as we know. So maybe if they know they can make money by adding new features, maybe they will do it. Hey, I don't know much more than you, Matt. Thanks, but no, you're flattering me. No, I'm just clicking on. Yeah, do you think Sony should put the A1 sensor in the FX body like the FX1? I didn't hear anything about that. I don't think this is going to happen, but just a feeling. I think we are going to see the A9 III global shutter sensor on a FX body in the future. In some white rumors, I read that DJI could maybe buy Lumix. Any opinion? First time I hear that, and I think actually that would. Now I'm probably pissing off Panasonic user. I think that would be great, because I know Panasonic has a lot of tech knowledge. They're making most of the Leica cameras, for example, except of the M series. But like the Leica SL3 and so forth, they have basically a Panasonic cameras with the Leica software and some Leica, of course, the Leica design. So I can see DJI. It could be a possibility for DJI if they want to make full frame mirrorless cameras to buy Panasonic and then add their knowledge and merge them with Panasonic hardware knowledge. I think that would be great, but let me know where you actually read this. I want to read more about this, but it's the first time I hear about it. No, I didn't hear anything about the new battery, but in those days, I'm actually in discussion with that source that shared me that info first a couple of months ago, and we are discussing about this and about the next camera. So he's sharing now details, and we will see soon if that source is right or not, because there is an announcement in November. So let's hope that, that if he's right on the camera info he's sharing now, then he's also right about the battery. Maybe we are also getting a new battery. Do you know why there is a delay in this more fast upload? Wait, on patents, I see any kind of crazy patents, and only a small amount of optical designs then will be made and make it on the market. So it's normal for them to make a ton of patents to protect themselves from other companies if they wouldn't patent all kinds of different lenses and cameras. And one day they will decide later to make such a model, they would probably get into some issues. So don't get to focus on patents. Only less than 50%, probably 10 or 20% of the patents you see from Tamron or Sony, whatever, will be made. And they are more made to protect themselves. If one day they make a lens, they can say, yeah, we patented this 6 years ago. I even saw, like I told you in many videos, medium format Sony lenses. There are patents describing the exact optical design of Sony medium format lenses. And not only for the small, medium format size of, for example, the Fujifilm GFX cameras, but also the bigger size, the one that Phase 1 is using, or the Hasselblad on their top models. Sony made such patents, even curved medium format sensors with lenses designed for that curved sensor, where the lenses are basically the same size of full frame sensors, but you have a more than twice bigger sensor. So this is quite stunning. Sony patented this, but it doesn't mean they're making it. No, I don't know the actual sales numbers of cameras from Sony. Sony doesn't share them also on their financial report. You can only rely on what managers say, and for example, the managers keep saying that the Sony A7 IV is the best-selling model worldwide. I think the Sony, when it comes to full frame, overall, I think the ZV-E10 is still the best-selling human camera. I checked yesterday on Amazon bestseller ranking, and we still have the ZV-E10 II on top in the US, selling better than any other camera, even better than the ZV-E10 II. So, and yeah, it's crazy, I know. The FX3 II this year, no, there will be one announcement in November, but it's an alpha related announcement, not FX. I hope the FX3 is coming in 2025, also because it has been announced in 2021, so it would be, or if I'm not wrong, so it's not the newest camera, and I can see Sony making an FX3 II, fingers crossed, with the new A9 III global shutter sensor. New displays on the A1 II. I hope so. I hate Sony low resolution screens. I would love Sony to give us proper screens that are bright also in bright conditions outside. I luckily have the Sony A7R V, so I'm mostly using the EVF, which is stunning, but the LCD release, I would love to get bigger screens and brighter screens. So, but I don't know, I didn't hear anything about the Sony A1 II or the Sony A7 V having really a big step forward in screens. I expect some improvement, but nothing revolutionary. Any rumors from CF Express R cards from Sony? The new 4.0 cards, have been announced by OVC and many other manufacturers. Nothing from Sony, but I think Sony will announce them probably even with the next camera coming in November. I expect from now on that most Sony alpha cameras will support the new 4.0 standard, simply because the benefit is really great. You have double the read and write speed, and that really brings a lot of improvements. How is the Z6 III doing? Is there enough sales? I didn't ask my sources. I'm connected to many stores, obviously, large stores. I asked them about Fuji, Sony. I never asked them about the Z6 III. I don't know how the Z6 III is doing. Anything in the future ZF lineup? I have nothing at all. Sorry, but I was the first to tell you about the Nikon ZF-C a couple of years ago. I broke that rumor. That was right on this. I actually should check back on the source and ask him if he has more knowledge about ZF gear, ZF designed lenses or lenses made for the ZF cameras. I will ask him about this. How much will the next camera cost? Like I told you, I still don't know 100% what camera is coming, if it's the A1 II, A7 V, or maybe something else that I don't know of. I still didn't see a price drop. If it's the Sony A1 II, I still didn't see a price drop on the Sony A1, so that makes me worried that if it's the A1 II, that it will be quite expensive. Let's see, but I don't have any info yet. I don't have info about any firmware update on the A1 or other cameras, except of the info that has been officially shared by Sony. So sorry, I cannot help you here. Any chance the A1 or A9 gets put into arrangements like the A1C or A9C? I didn't hear anything about other C camera models. I think we are done for now. The A7C2, the A7CR have been announced 1 year ago exactly. I don't think we can expect new A7C cameras anytime soon, probably not in 2025. So I don't see also why they should do it. I have no rumor about any EVF hot shoe attachment. Okay, folks, there are some more questions I will not answer yet, but we are now 42 minutes into the live stream. I think we had our nice discussion about the rumor upcoming announcement in November. I told at the beginning of the video, I know more than I told you in my previous video, than I wrote on sonyalpha.com. Actually, I have 3 more info that I didn't share. For example, the announcement date, I have it. I also have probably what the name of the camera that will be announced, and also some info about the lens. But I'm using that info to double check all the rumors I'm receiving from other sources, and also I'm waiting to double and triple check, because sometimes sources get fed with wrong information or they misinterpret some info they get. So they mean it well and still can do mistakes, or I misunderstand them, because sometimes they don't really write perfectly what they mean, and I have to make sure that I understand it right. But I know a bit more, and I hope that in the next weeks I can slowly start to tell you exactly more about the camera, the lens, and the announcement date. And also the interview for me was interesting, because it gave me hope again that we are getting a full frame fixed lens camera, probably not in November, unless the Sony will surprise us all. But I have high hopes for this. I think it would be quite a nice camera. At least that's my opinion. Okay, folks, that's about it. Again, this will be an exciting time. The probably best time ever for Sony Alpha community is now, so between now and late November. And in general, like I told you, in 2025, I really see Sony being a bit more interesting than they did in 2024, where we only got the ZV-E10II and a couple of G lenses and a new GM285 update, which is nice. Oh, everything is nice, but nothing really crazy. But now the crazy stuff is coming. Hopefully the 24-70-2.0, the Sony 1.2, the Sony A7 V, and maybe even that fixed lens full frame camera. I know I don't have confirmation on that, but I hope. And then 2025 will turn out to be really a great year. That's it for today, folks. Again, I kindly invite you to subscribe if you really enjoy chatting with me and seeing the videos and chatting about future cameras. Again, a reminder to send me info using the contact form on sonyalpha.com. Use a nickname. If you keep sending me rumors, I can recognize it, that you are a trusted source. And also you can contact me using the email address sonyalpharumors@gmail.com. So that's it for today, folks. It's really getting dark now here in the Alps. It's still raining like hell. An ugly day, but at least I'm happy that the next weeks I can see you more often on this YouTube channel, because there will be quite some rumors coming. We are talking about great gear, really interesting gear. Maybe not for everyone, but at least something we can love or hate potently, and not something that will go unnoticed like a ZV